Rahim with Shawn Porter, all smiles, feeling relaxed. In fight week, every fighter kind of takes it his own way. You're not so close to the fight that it's tomorrow, but you're close enough where most of the training got to be ready by now. What kind of internal conversation are you having with yourself just a few days before showtime?
I think this might be one of the first times that every conversation that I've had hasn't been internal. A lot of the stuff that I've said to myself, I've repeated to my team, and we are all on the same accord, and we all have the same mindset. So, you know, I think the vision right now is just to shock the world.
I've noticed as the fight grew closer, and I think we all knew this would happen, you guys both got a little testy and you started to have, you know, butt heads when you sit across from that table. One thing that you said that stuck out to me was you feel like he's got a lot of questions to answer. People are like, well, how can Shawn do it? Or, you know, what can he change? What is it that you feel like maybe going through Errol Spence's head right now and the kind of questions he has to answer Saturday night?
You know, I feel like, you know, maybe even just the question of can Shawn Porter take my punch? I mean, that alone, you know, once he hits me and he sees that I can take his punch, then what does he do? You know, when he sees that I'm not going to take steps back the way other guys have, and I'm going to push him back the way no one else has. Those are the kind of questions that I'm talking about, the questions that most people don't know because they never done this in their lives. You know, Errol and myself, we've done this, and you know, countless other fighters have done this for our lives, you know what I mean? And at some point we always answer some questions, whether that's before, during, or after a fight. So I'm definitely expecting to make him uncomfortable and start raising the questions as that first round begins. One of the criticisms he lays about you is how tough your fights have been, the kind of tough opposition you've had, and had a struggle winning fights. Could that be an advantage for you, or do you feel like that's something that you need to overcome and prove on Saturday night, that you don't have to make every fight tough? You know, I expect this one to be tough and rugged. I expect to take it to him and be aggressive throughout this fight. Do I think that that's what's required to win every fight? No. You know, some fights are close, some fights are you know, landslide victories. You know, his fight against Mikey Garcia was not what anyone expected at all, you know. Kudos to him, he did a fantastic job, you know, but now he's up against Showtime Shawn Porter. He hasn't had, at least I haven't seen him have a moment in the ring where it seemed like he had to fight through something or, you know, do more than he expected to have to do. So when I ask if that's an advantage for you, having been in tough, close fights like that, do you see it that way, and how do you think he'll respond to adversity if you can bring it? Listen, let me say this. When I was at the fight when he won his belt against Kell Brook, when I watch fights, I watch for everything. I mean, even I'm watching your eyes and seeing what's going on from a psychological standpoint. In that fight, there were lapses where he fought through some adversity. Not a lot, but some adversity. And I actually watched that way back in, that was 2 or 3 years ago now. I remember thinking, he's making it through that. He's got enough to make it through that. And so I see he has dog, he has fight. But I think that the consistency that I'm going to bring it is a lot different than anything he's been up against. So I think that's another question as well. What adversity has he been through, and if any at all, is he really prepared to go through the adversity that he's going to go through against Showtime Shawn Porter? We know that you were sparring with David Benavidez for this fight. He's on the card as well. He's a bigger guy. Talk to me about what that sparring session was like. A lot of people are talking about it, and what you got from it. I think at that point we were about 4 weeks away from the fight, possibly 5, and my dad wanted to gauge where we were in training. We went out and we did 10 rounds with this big dude. A lot of fun, a lot of competition. Was able to work on a lot of different things that we've have been preparing for. And through the 10 rounds, about 5 weeks away from the fight, we saw that conditioning was spot on. Everything was where we needed to be. So actually my last sparring session, instead of doing 10, we did 13. Is there any advantage to being a smaller guy in a fight like this? I think so. I think in a fight like this, I don't think Errol is used to. See, it's just the combination, you know what I mean? I'm shorter than Errol, but I can fight like a taller fighter. I can fight like a long fighter, you know? But then I can get low, you know? So I think in this fight, the dimensions are going to change a lot, and I think that's an advantage for me. If there's one thing you want to put to the test, and I'm not asking for your game plan, but you talked about how much you study him and whatnot, where do you think, whether or not it's a way to win, is a good stress point to test him? I think the best way, not to test him, but the best way to handle him is to come out of the gate, first round, win that round, second round, win that round, and keep counting round after round after round. I think that's what's going to be a stress factor for him if and when his team starts to feel like their backs are against the ropes and their backs are against the wall and they got to push for something. I think that's when, that's the quote-unquote test for him.
And lastly, for the same question, essentially for you, you talked about, been open about maybe the Ugas fight, what you didn't have as much success as you would like, things you need to work on. In these close fights, you learn something all the time. Yeah. What would you like to do or correct in your performance Saturday night that maybe gave you trouble in the past that could be the difference in this victory?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one thing we did with Dennis Ugas was we moved the majority of the night. Not much aggression at all. When I took a look at the fight, I said, man, I wish I had been more aggressive. I wish I had took it to him more. I think I would have hurt him. And my dad, assistant coach Larry Wade, said that wasn't your orders, that wasn't your directive. You did what you had to do, and you won the fight. So I think this time we know that we have to mix it up, the movement with the pressure, the counter punching, and so on and so forth. So we're prepared to do all of that. A lot of the things that showed up a lot in Keith Thurman in the Keith Thurman fight, but there were some small things that showed up as well that I'm trying to correct. I think we got them corrected.
Well, we don't have to see you in the ring today to know that you're ready. I can see that on you. I can feel the energy. This is going to be a great fight. I can't wait to see Shawn Porter and Errol Spence get it on across the street of the Staples Center this Saturday night. Radio Rahim with Showtime, Shawn Porter.
Did you tell him to order the fight? Tell him, order the fight on pay-per-view.
Order the fight on pay-per-view. Come down Staples Center and watch it.
Or
you know what I mean?
AMC Theaters.
AMC Theaters on your phones. However you got to see this fight, get there and watch it. I'm going to be ringside. Shawn's going to be killing it in the ring. And Errol Spence is going to bring everything he has. It's going to be a war. Can't wait to see it. Radio Rahim with Showtime, Shawn Porter.